Michael, let's have a chat about anger and rage and depression. You know, my understanding is that when people get really angry, they're very frustrated with something. They haven't got what they want, or they wanted something and didn't get it. You know, the scales.
Yep.
But the frustration with anger, they let it out, you know, flip the lid. They say things verbally, or they throw things. They can be violent towards people. Or if they don't do that, the frustration just, they get really down. They can't do anything.
Turn it inwards.
They turn it inwards, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I think that it's important to recognise that not everyone's good at dealing with anger or getting angry for that matter. I mean, they get angry but they don't know what to do with it, right? So we have this experience. It might lead to loss of a block goal. It might be lack of respect from somebody. It might be an expectation that didn't come about, or something happens that they didn't expect to happen, so it catches them off guard. So they get angry at it, they get frustrated. But the frustration usually isn't the first response. The experience is the first response. Then we have an emotional response, which is usually an angry response. But like we said, not everyone deals with anger the same way. Then after the emotional response, which is anger, frustration, for some people rage, then you get this need to try and work it out. How do I think through this? And when we're not able to do that, we can end up in depression because that's how we cope. We haven't been able to resolve it from the experience to the emotion to what we think and what we want to do with it, we can't do with it. So we end up being depressed. But that also happens sometimes because not just when we have a major thing happen like that, but when we bottle up anger, we don't let it out. See, not everyone gets angry and thumps a wall or kicks a dog. Not that we should do that anyway, or thump a wall. But not everyone does that. Some people, because of their family origin backgrounds, they hold anger inwards. And it pushes down inside. It affects their nervous system. It affects their gut. And it bottles up to the point where they can't cope. And depression becomes their way of coping. Becomes their way of protecting themselves, if you like.
The link between what people are thinking and how they're feeling, you know, say in depression, what's going on there, do you think?
Well, sometimes it's because in their mental filter, they haven't got an answer for what they're trying to work out. Sometimes it's because the belief system they have about themselves or about what has happened or hasn't happened can actually be a little bit off skew, right? It's an unrealistic belief. It's an unrealistic approach to life. And so this type of thing can happen in little steps until it gets to something bigger and it builds up inside. And so they end up depressed that way.
William Glasser says, if you think a certain way, you will feel a certain way, you know, and there's other psychological approaches that talk about that. And so he flips it round and he would use a verb, an active word like depressing. You are depressing yourself when you focus and dwell on certain thoughts. So if you change your thoughts, you can change how you feel. What you thinking?
I think that's true, right? Faulty thinking can lead people to all sorts of desperate places, including despair and depression. But what's important to remember there is that not everyone has faulty thinking. So not everyone that ends up depressed comes from faulty thinking. That's a really important thing to remember.
Yeah.